everybody. Welcome back to the final bonus episode of this three-part series, Mummy Month, the Mummy Minute. There's a lot of measures of time that start with M, at least two. The Mummy Millennium.
Micro second?
Yes, right? Yep.
Millisecond. Millisecond's real one.
The Mummy Millisecond's real fast.
Okay.
I'm Alex Falcone. This is Ezra Fox. We are the co-authors of this best-selling novel, Unwrap My Heart. And so this year, for Spooky Month, we've decided to review 3 pieces of Mummy media for a whole millisecond each. And this is our third of 3 this week. We are talking about Warm Bodies, now a major motion picture. We're going to talk about the movie because it was shorter than the book, but I'm just proving to you that I have the book by holding it up to the camera there. Before we get into Warm Bodies, though, Ezra, may I share with you 2 mummy facts that I found in my notes that didn't end up in the book, but I just have some fun mummy facts that are relevant to this, I think.
Okay.
Well, first one's less relevant, second one gets relevant. Okay. Peruvian mummies.
Mm-hmm.
Not Egypt's not the only place with mummies.
No.
Peruvian mummies, scientists were able to look at their hair that had survived in the wrapping and do chemical tests on it and found cortisol levels in the hair suggesting stress, high levels of stress. And also they were able to find the presence of a hallucinogenic drug suggesting that they also got high, possibly to deal with the stress. That's a mummy fact.
I mean, this is maybe a chicken egg kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, were the bad trips stressing them out, or alternatively, were like they were like, you know what? I got to get away from the actual tigers. Let me turn them back into cupcakes.
Yeah, that's so true. Other fun mummy fact that I learned a little while ago.
Mummy facts.
I did. This is literally what it says on my notes, and then I chose not to because awful. But my mummy fact number 2. In Egypt, in the higher end mummification process, Egyptian priests removed the deceased's brain, as you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes, definitely through the nose. Scientists thought it was with a hook, and then it turns out it was with a straw. But anyway, they left the heart in, traditionally. They would take out some of the other organs, put them in canopic jars, leave the heart in, because ancient Egyptians believed the heart was the center of a being's intelligence, which is why the best mummy characters are all heart and no brain.
Is that
last part
for that?
I added that. That last part was more my deduction from the other fact.
I mean, it's true, because I guess our last mummy character, his center was a lot lower than the heart, and I feel like he wasn't my favorite mummy kid we got.
Also, I mean, that there's a little of that in this one too. They showed the zooming in on his heart, but we think maybe
if there could have been like a How the Grinch Stole Christmas kind of like, and his junk grew 3 sizes that day.
It's the first of many Grinch references today. I already have that written into my notes. Okay,
Grinch view unlocked.
So today we're talking about Warm Bodies, the 2013 American paranormal romantic zombie comedy film, written and directed by Jonathan Levine and based on Isaac Marion's 2010 novel of the same name. According to the Seattle Times, gruesome yet poetic. Anyway, that's the book, and there's a movie, and both of those things are based on Romeo and Juliet. Like everything it's just too much work to plot. Our book is based on Romeo and Juliet, because our book is a parody of Twilight, which is based on Romeo and Juliet, because writing a plot is hard. Someone already handled it. So we're just taking it. We're changing the parts that are funny to us.
You don't have to reinvent a sandwich structure either. Like there's a lot of stuff that people have done good legwork. Like let us all be like Isaac Newton and stand on the shoulders of giants here.
The Earl of Sandwich figured out to put it between bread. We're not out here trying to sandwich meat between soup.
Don't go ahead and try to reinvent the bread. Okay.
Yeah.
It's already good.
Bread's a crucial part of most sandwiches. Go with that. So it's funny because I was watching with my wife and she did not know ahead of time that it was based on Romeo and Juliet. And then there was a part where I was like, hey, I don't remember. Does Romeo and Juliet end well? Which is a great joke. And then she started to connect all the pieces. Characters named Julie, other characters named R.
I'm so glad we got to this early. This is actually one of my favorite things of any time it's a Romeo and Juliet story. But also anytime it's like this is a clear reference. It's like, how are they going to change the names so that we know what they're doing? But it's a little different. I legitimately like Romeo and Juliet. I love that.
Romeo and Juliet's that's the best one of all time. This R and Julie is pretty lame, I think.
R makes a lot of sense because he does not remember anything, and that seems on brand for him.
Yeah.
What else is it going to be? It should be just which also would work.
Yeah, I mean, that would make total sense. But it's just a little bit like, oh, wah. He doesn't remember his full name, but we all know it. Also, when I told her that, it was right before Julie walks out on the balcony and is like, oh, hey, you're down there.
You know what? Here's the thing. I had some improv teachers who was like, you know what? Do the counterintuitive thing, which is just the obvious thing, because people like it when you play the hits.
It really does pay off too. Yeah, I mean, so many people like you hear into that like comedy is surprise, and so often this was very true in improv, but it's so often if you just do the thing everyone is hoping you'll do, they'll cheer. It's still satisfying to pay off the thing. Put it on a balcony. Go for it.
Yeah, right. I think it's rare enough. There's enough people going. Zig is, I guess, zagging when you're supposed to zig. You can just zig, and you'll get credit for that still.
You get still full credit on the test.
Yeah, you can just zig. It's fine.
For people who have not watched or read Warm Bodies, allow me to summarize the film version of it for you here in just 4 paragraphs. So there's an airport zombie named R, and he's shuffling around having a detailed inner life, which is troubling. But then during a routine people-eating mission, he eats the boyfriend of Julie, played by Outlet Mall Jennifer Lawrence. And there's a thing about... I know, I'm right. I'm right, though. There's a thing where if you, in this... The way that they have changed zombies in this one of the things is that if you eat a boy, you get his brain. Like, if you eat his brain, you get his memories.
Anyone. All right.
Specifically, Julie's boyfriend is the only time we see this example.
Yes, but he knew this is a thing. He wasn't surprised. He was like, this is the best part.
And he kept pieces of his brain around to eat later to enjoy more memories. Anyway.
Well, I fundamentally, I get that because having grown up in the Depression, I do not like to waste food. So...
yeah, that is also what I call middle school. So he falls in love with the guy he ate's girlfriend because he has his memories, and also because she's just like super hot. And then they do the thing just like the Grinch Stole Christmas, where they zoom into his heart muscle and you see it enlarging in CG. And so now he's like got a little more heart. His makeup is slowly being reduced, and he can talk more and more each scene. As well as sometimes just run outright. So then he goes into like this playful thing where he kidnaps Julie and holds her against her will using both physical restraint and deceit.
This is still problematic.
So problematic.
That was not great.
So super. I mean, the fact that it ends with them like we're together now, like. Yeah, you did tell her eventually that you ate her boyfriend, but you did not mention you got his memories and you liked it and you kept his brain in your
right,
pocket.
that never gets covered. So I'm assuming, okay, she wasn't surprised exactly when he said Julie for the first time, like, right after eating boyfriend's brains. Played quickly by Dave Franco. He's like in a scene, and then some flashbacks. But I think that the other thing of it really being like it does like splash some cold water on the whole situation, really, where it's just like he doesn't really ever have to be cool, I guess.
There's one line in the movie where she's like, "You're trying harder than any of the alive humans I know," and that's doing the lifting of covering all of the things we've seen him do. Of like, but he tries, so she likes that. That covers it. It's fine. It's not just Stockholm syndrome and trauma.
It's less of a fun, like, act 2 bonding montage, given that like she is trying to recruit people to get away.
Yes, and he's lying to her and he never comes clean about it. Eventually, he does let her go / brings her with him and then sees her in her underwear and then admits briefly that he ate her boyfriend, and so she gets in a huff and leaves. And then now we're gonna talk about another character you may have missed so far, which is R has a friend played by Rob Corddry as a zombie, a.k.a. Rob Zombie.
That's pretty good.
Rob Zombie sees a picture of 2 people in the airport where he's been shambling for 8 years. He sees a picture of people holding hands, and then his heart grinches up a little bit from seeing people hold hands. So it's not just Julie. It's any heterosexual love is enough to get your zombie heart to start. and it eventually turns hundreds of zombies who look at this picture. If this is enough, imagine if there had been a Playboy lying around in that airport. They could have gotten the bonies back, maybe. We'll come to the bonies. So, he's Rob Zombie is he's also turning. His heart is bigger, and they realize that that's actually maybe kind of a cure, that the zombies can get better. And if you don't shoot them in the head, if you instead just show them a picture of two people in love, your heart will grow. So, R goes to Julie's dad's castle because he's the president of Indianapolis, and they go to that castle, and then he's like, I'm different. We're better. And President Malkovich is like, nuh-uh,
don't splash the chips.
Shooting.
It's Rounders.
It's a Rounders reference. Yeah. Pay that zombie his money. So he Malkoviches it up. He's like, no, I like shooting zombies too much. But then, oh, hey, you know how humans and zombies, it's the eternal struggle. What if they added super zombies?
Just double zombies.
There's zombies who are more zombie than the zombies. There's double zombies, and so the regular zombies hate the double zombies. The humans hate the double zombies, and so they join forces. Humans and level 1 zombies fighting level 2 zombies, and they shoot them all in the head. And apparently they're just like, I know you guys can get better, but we're just going to assume they can't. Kaplow, kaplow, kaplow.
I mean, actually, at the end, right, there's just a couple of bonies who see the hand holding, and they're like, "Yo, I think I might have felt something."
They would become regular zombies.
Yeah,
they're
right.
Like,
it's a pyramid. Everyone just moves up a level.
Also, at some point when they become bonies, they can sprint, which really, except for in 28 Days Later, where it was like a key point of the movie that zombies were fast. When your zombies are slow, except randomly they're fast, that really drives me crazy.
No.
Anyway, and then the end of the movie is that zombies start hitting on people in parks.
Yes, it was really hard to read that situation. So yeah, this is like the moment of change, basically, when Rob Zombie is like hanging out. He's getting rained on a little bit. He's trying to open up his umbrella, but he's got zombie fingers, he says. And this like, nice,
human woman,
conventionally attractive human woman is
adult,
like, here, let me help you with that.
Alive human woman.
Yes. And she's like, let me help you with that. And then he's like, great. And then he goes to like share, his umbrella with her. And like, it's really tough for me to read the situation.
She's like, "No, please leave me alone."
Yeah. This was just a one-time.
And then he's like, "No, I insist."
Thing. Yeah, and it's really tough to know if this is a meet cute or a meet. Ugh.
It's a lot of it's not cute to me. That was the final piece of evidence. I was assumed that the book and the movie were both made by dudes, but that was when it sealed it. Because Rob Zombie's other funny moment was where his girlfriend leaves him because he killed her boyfriend, and then Rob says his first word of the movie,
which is the B word.
Which is the B word. And it's kind of funny, but it's also like, oh, it was a boy joke.
Well, I mean, it's just like, oh, hey, just because you're the one zombie that he was friends with doesn't mean he was a great person beforehand.
Right, they couldn't speak before. So I thought that would have actually been a funny thing where you realize, like, oh, it's my best friend because we can't talk. Now that he can talk, he sucks.
Yeah, turns out it was better when we had nothing to talk about.
Yeah. You're like, man, all the zombies are getting better except Rob. And then you just kind of slowly pushes him off a cliff.
Yeah, I can't know you right now, dude.
I don't think I like him. I don't like him because he turns out to be a creep at the end, too. So there's those two jokes with Rob Zombie, the B word, the creeping on ladies at the end, and then also there's a moment where Julie's best friend is like, they're like, you could be anything in the world. What is your dream? And she's like, I want to be a nurse so I can help people and find a cure to this disease. And I hate acknowledging that there's a hierarchy in medicine. I feel bad about it, but if you're going to find cures, it's probably not in nursing. Nursing is very important. You're doing great work. But if you can be anything magically with no science and you get to find the cure, why did she say she wanted to be a nurse, Ezra? That's weird. That feels like a line written by boys.
Right. She could have. I mean, look, like it's both those things.
Scientist, doctor, researcher.
Right. Okay. This is kind of like when we had there's an architect. I think Keanu Reeves in The Lake House was like, I'm an architect. I build houses.
I build things.
Yeah. It was like, nah, man, those are different jobs.
Man, you don't.
They're both good jobs. You could pick a lane.
Somebody wrote this who didn't bother to Google what you do.
This person was neither a nurse. Fair to say the writer was neither a nurse nor a solver of zombie diseases.
A little bit too much lads in that part. Okay, but I have a couple of things I want to talk about. Do you want to go first?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Like one, this is one of the things where it's like, oh, this is a couple years before Me Too, and like that, it feels like that, and it's interesting that and it's also some time before COVID, and it feels like that too, where it's like both. It's interesting, like the last decade, some parts of it I still very much enjoyed, but it's like there's like kind of even a decade ago some twinges where it's like, oh, like the way like world's a little different now, and some different things. So that is interesting.
Well, I can't help but being competitive this whole time because I do feel like this is probably a better written book than our book in a lot of ways, specifically length and effort. But
no doubt, and having a better look, going to the source material on the right working structure, cribbing off of Romeo and Juliet instead of cribbing off the thing that's cribbing off of Romeo and Juliet. Copies of copies are not better, right? So
look, our structure is bad, but it's bad on purpose to show parody. Anyway, we don't have to do this. The point is. This is a better book in a lot of ways, but there are several things where I feel a little bit smug. And one of them is we tried to keep the relationship not problematic. And just like in Anne Rice, this one was like, but what if, who cares? What if it's just problematic?
It's this kind of thing where, you go out in the rain and you get wet. At a certain point, you're not aware of being wet anymore. Right? So it's like I think the anytime you're making a thing where it's like if there's a bit of problematic stuff, if it just keeps coming, like you probably will adjust. And they'll be like, I don't have to make it unproblematic. Like readers will go along for the ride.
And they did. This is a very popular book. Okay, let's talk about a couple of things that jump out at me from this. One is, so just like we were, doing mummy lore, every time you write something with a classic monster, you have to decide what you pick and choose, what you keep, what you change about the lore. Are you one of those vampires that's not afraid of garlic, but you sparkle in the sun because you're just changing everything for no reason? Or are you keeping mostly to sticking to the book? So this has a couple things. So let's talk about what they did with zombies in this that are different from other zombie things. I mentioned that sometimes they run. I mentioned that there's an extra layer of zombies.
Wait, and if you want to picture like those extra zombies are kind of like the I Am Legend zombies. They're kind of like the stripped off, like you got like the extra bits and pieces, and that's apparently what people look like all underneath. I guess it's sort of like it's kind of like a leathery muscles and bones is what you get.
But you still crave, but you're faster. Maybe because you're not wearing clothes.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's no chafing, I guess, in this.
And also, they can eat zombies if zombies have their hearts grinched open. Hard to say. Also, we added the thing where if you eat somebody's brains, you get their memories, which is wild.
I like. I don't hate this addition. I think I want more. I want more. Just like what, eat X, get a power. Right. Like that's what happened to Mario also, as far as I understand.
So if you eat their lungs, you can swim longer.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. It's just
you get their ability to swim.
Right. And I want this across all monster media from now on. I guess you consume a thing, you get some of that.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, you are what you eat. I think that's right. Just like I have the power of a taco. I can just. I have the power apart, to lay here.
Like
yeah, right. And if I've not been steamed properly, I'll fall apart all over you.
I want the new version of Pac-Man now, actually, where you get some ghost powers, right? Where it's like becomes haunted with the things that Pac-Man.
Oh man, if Pac-Man is constantly regretting the things that the ghosts didn't finish before they died.
Oh no, right? It was actually that's great. Like there was I loved this movie. I'm sure it's problematic also, but Heart and Souls with Robert Downey Jr., where he's like he gets haunted by a bunch of like ghost people, and then like he realizes he has to do all their unfinished business basically. And I think that's like so I want Heart and Souls 2 with Pac-Man. Yes, or whatever that might mean. Like that. I mean, that's what you get. That's Chekhov's cherry, where it doesn't come off until the last act, where you'll definitely need to become.
I'm fine with part of the story is that zombies. Everything that's happened in the apocalypse so much more fucked up. If every time they had killed a zombie, that was a zombie with a family and memories and was in love with somebody, like it's not fun anymore. The reason why zombie movies are fun is because you can shoot them and feel no remorse.
Well, I mean, are you familiar with I Am Legend?
Like, I've not seen I Am Legend.
Okay,
no.
So didn't have this in the original Will Smith ending, but in the book. That is kind of the point, basically, is that like, these zombies were actually full. Sorry for the spoiler. This is a very old book. These zombies are like actually like they changed. They look different, but they are full people that are not human looking people anymore. and is like, oh, I get it. I am the monster in their story, right?
So this was that without the reflection.
Well,
That's what this book did. Was like the bad parts of that, and then the character's like, huh, neat.
well, yeah. He's like, well, we got who we got now, and we can just move on. Everyone's cool. We just call truce. We keep on moving. We destroy the
Give him an umbrella.
double
Everything's
zombies.
great.
Yeah.
Tear down the wall. That is so messed up. And then the fact that they just shoot the bonies and don't think about it is so wild.
I
for
mean,
what this implies.
This. How do they have so many bullets? That's another great question, right? Like, because that's like they
it's
do.
Indianapolis, man.
Is that where we were? I didn't remember.
No, it looked like it looked someplace like that, but it was actually in Montreal. Was where it was filmed.
Oh, but like, where was this supposed to be?
I don't know. It didn't say in the movie, and I didn't check from the book.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a while where I flip through this book and see if I find it?
Control F on the Kindle version. But no, I think this is fine. Main point of it, though, yeah, it does seem like it'd be a lot of work to try to see if the bonies are real or not. And I think like it's like, you know what, we have enough work that our society has to do to integrate the people, like these people that we've been terrorizing for a while who look normal-ish. Like maybe we're just like cut our losses here, and like we all agree that the zombie of my zombie is my enemy. And no,
it's not working for me.
No, okay.
This feels so bad. This is such a gnarly.
This
book.
is so much. Look, have you seen John Malkovich generally in movies? This is so much growth for him to not.
He did have a brief redemption at the end, but he killed his wife as a zombie. He killed the boyfriend's father as a zombie, and all that time, all they had to do was just show them a picture of hand-holding old people. If they showed them one tourist poster of people in love, that would have gotten his dad back. He didn't have to do this.
One Depends commercial could have done it.
I know. Seriously, that's awful. I hope they don't ever have to think about that. That's really bad. So the reason we did this, by the way, because we're talking about mummies for Mummy Book. What?
No, I just that transition of like, oh yeah, why are we talking about this?
The reason why we're talking about this book is because the last time our book went viral, several people, because one of the things I say in the video is people had not gotten around to writing the romance about a mummy, and so the two things people offered as evidence were the Anne Rice book, which we covered last week, is not about a mummy. It doesn't feature a mummy. There's no mummies in that book. Actually, there are mummies, but not the main character. The mummy is not a mummy. And then the other thing people said was Warm Bodies, and I had never thought of this, that people were confused between those two, because zombies, mummies, different name. But instead of being defensive about it, let's think about why that occurred to people. So let's talk about mummies and zombies. Are they more similar than different?
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely look. If there are teams here, I think they're getting, they are probably going to get lumped together, and I think they're probably going to band. They're more likely to band together, I think, and take on humanity than anyone else, right? It's more likely that mummies are more like zombies than anywhere like bonies or like humans. I think.
Right, you're never like mummies and Frankensteins aren't going to join together.
Oh, they probably will. I think this is all the middle section of this. This is,
but not werewolves.
This is not hot, has intelligence, not alive. Right. It's a lot of like it's a lot of the knots actually.
Okay, oh, so that's funny. That's good. Good point. But we have to talk about that. Alive? Question mark. So
yeah.
In this, he's dead, and it's not a question. He is like, I am dead. But then when he sees boobs, his heart goes boom.
Okay.
And is he not dead anymore?
Well,
is he alive? Was he physically dead, but his brain was alive? He's got a soul for sure. I would agree.
Deadness is sort of like, and this seemed to be like diagnosed on a spectrum. I guess I want to say
beautiful spectrum. Yeah.
Where it's like we have humans who are alive or can be dead. We have zombies, right, who can both be zombie alive or zombie dead. They can also go down into bonies, right, which is another like dropping down of life, and as well as being dead bonies, and getting run over by a Zamboni.
Right. But for real, not phony baloney. So what's the where do mummies fall on this beautiful spectrum?
I mean, I think it's a similar zone, right?
First.
Where it's like so they have for sure been dead. Their human life is over, right? We can all agree with that. And yet they're not all the way to dead, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's like they're in that space.
So this is definitely work we did not do before we wrote the book, because I think of the mummy, our mummy, Seth, as being alive.
fully alive?
I think he's been totally brought back to life.
Okay, well,
his soul took a rest for 3,000 years, and then it was recalled from wherever it was, and he can't remember, so we don't have to deal with that. But I think of him as fully alive. I think, and that's actually one of the things about zombies that's really, I think, crucial versus mummies, is that mummies are preserved and zombies are rotting. Mummies, you stopped the physical decay, and you took out some of the organs, but not the heart. But you did take out the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But zombies are like falling apart, gross, decaying. But also, I think of them as undead, whereas I think of mummies as being brought back to life.
What really all this is just a dry ooginess or a wet ooginess. That's pretty similar.
I think so. I actually think that's what makes zombies oogier, is that they are wet.
A little more on the gushy
and
side.
one thing I love about this is even when they do a
Gushy boys and dusty boys.
Even when Gushy Boy gets his makeover, where the girls give him all this makeup, they don't bother to zip up his hoodie past the blood stain on his undershirt. They don't even try to hide the fact that he's bleeding all over the place.
It's a flex, I think. It's a weird flex, but I think it's a flex.
All right,
so
Gushy Boys versus Dusty Boys. I think of Gushy Boys as dead and Dry Boys as alive. What do you think?
I mean, like, I think these feel like, to me, I guess these feel like differences that don't make a difference. We know they're not fully dead, right? Because those are just not moving, right? And they are not fully alive. And so I think anything in that middle space feels like it's playing, this is in the same, Premier League teams, basically, right?
Sure.
Or I guess maybe they're championship, because they've been demoted down, basically one.
Right,
They've been relegated from Premier to Championship. I've been watching Welcome to Wrexham, so I got this down.
Oh, you're familiar? Yeah, well, that's all the way down there in League 3.
I think they're going to
below
make it.
the EFL.
Yeah, but they beat a championship team in the FA Cup.
They did. What a great time.
And
I didn't know you were watching this. I'm so happy.
I like Welcome to Wrexham.
I almost wore my Wrexham jersey for this recording.
Oh my god, I would have loved that.
I know. I had no idea. That's so funny. I thought about it, about changing, because 2 weeks ago I wore my strike shirt, and somebody mentioned it on the YouTube. Because I was really mad at the unions, the studio that day, because they had really screwed up the unions. So I wore my strike shirt. Today I'd watched Wrexham this morning, so I thought about throwing on my jersey.
If anyone wants to comment, I'm wearing an octopus shirt that I got for free. So that would make me.
You don't have to say the last part. We know how you're exclusively free shirts. So okay, here's another thing I think it's interesting: mummies versus zombies. More similar than different.
Yeah,
they're both shuffling.
Yeah, every day.
Every day
they're shuffling, is what I understand.
I think so. That's end of night. They don't sleep. So, but their slowness, I think, makes them good friends. It makes them work together.
Well, it's nice to, it's just sort of like, I feel like there's like a heartwarming story where it's like there's like a toddler and like a grandparent, and they're like I like that they walk at the same speed. It's like what they said, and it's like that's very sweet.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Where it's like you got to have a friend who you can walk together.
The only thing. So I guess the question is, since they are so similar, why are zombies so popular and mummies almost nowhere? And I think that's what I was thinking about. I think obviously mummies take more work. Like a zombie could be your dad, but mummy probably not.
Oh, I totally know what this is.
What is it?
The world that is needed for zombies is much more interesting than the world that's needed for mummies. The world that's needed for like a mummy.
I hope an ancient Egyptian didn't hear you say that.
No, check it out. So like in order to. Usually, like, mummies are not in hordes, right? It does not really substantially change the whole world to bring one mummy back,
right?
Right. It's a problem for Brendan Fraser when he's there.
But mummy horror is not post-apocalyptic the same way.
And I think it's more.
Because why would that be?
All the mummies came back.
Yeah, these mushrooms took over everyone's brain, and then the mummies started walking around.
Actually, it'd be so great if in season 2 of The Last of Us, there's like The Last of Us and also this mummy, where it's like, I came back to haunt. What is going on? What did you guys do? I was gone for a little bit, and oh my god, I'm going back to sleep. Figure this out.
This is sort of what I was talking about last week with the with Ramses the Damses, where it'd be funny if he falls asleep in the tomb for so many thousands of years, he wakes up and it's just the world sucks now, and it's like just cockroaches and him.
Well, I think at that point,
I think there's a version of this where he gets woken up and it's like just a post-apocalypse. It's like, oh, this is terrible.
I mean, you hit the snooze button, right? Like clearly you hit the snooze button. You're like, let me know cockroaches when you have Netflix. And
Ramsey opens up the tomb and he sees people shooting zombies and the mushrooms growing on their head, and he's like, nah, and
hard
rolls
pass.
the rock back,
right?
Straight back to sleep.
Yeah, wake me up when apocalypse would end. So yeah,
I think you're right. I think it is a more interesting world.
Because I think like everything changes when there's zombies everywhere, right? And I think that's part of is it a much more like, what would I do? How would I survive? And like for the mummies, it's like, it doesn't really change that much. I'm sure at different points there's been things that are like, there's an isolated event that is a mummy level strange thing that is happening, right? That is, that's like, you know what, this one goat like is walking backwards and we don't know why. And that's a weird thing for that town, but it's not a weird thing for the whole world. And you're like, I could just leave, right? You could just leave from that goat.
So sometimes in zombie things, well, a lot of the time in it's like zombie world, it's like, oh, the virus gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And if a mummy bites you, you have it now.
Is that where they're
Sometimes
at? Is it by the mummy? I don't even know how they transmit mumminess.
Mumminess?
Yeah.
Sorry, did I say mummy? I meant zombie.
Okay, great.
So the zombies bite each other, they transfer it. No, with mummies, it's wrapping and bitumen.
Yeah, the mummy bites you and you're like, why? that did nothing for me.
So the zombies bite each other. That's how you spread zombieism.
Yes, zombies making zombies, man.
But there are some where it's like all of the dead have risen, where like the virus gets into the existing dead.
Right.
If that was the case, mummies are also in this world.
Oh, absolutely. You get some mummies, right? It's like
isn't Walking Dead where it got to people who had died previous to without being bitten? I think that there's like a season 3 twist or whatever. Anyway,
I will believe you, but I do
just
not.
Take my word for it.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, there's like billions of zombies, and then like a few hundred mummies also. But who cares?
Yeah, I mean, do you think they'd be like well integrated or respected, or just like put off to the side, or it's like, what's the zombie mummy interaction?
I mean, are zombies racist? Is your question?
I mean, I didn't want to say it like that, but I have to ask.
I mean, there is something like where it's like if you had a mummy in your zombie horde, you'd be like, oh,
yeah,
different, interesting.
One of the zombies like, this is my mummy friend.
Well, if you take it away from race, and I'm sorry I brought that up, but if it was more like you're going around and you're like Pokemon, you're taking pictures of zombies, and then you're like, one of them's a mummy, you'd be like, oh, this is the most interesting zombie in this group. This is worth more points.
We got a lag.
Man, you froze while I was doing a thing that was questionable, and it really scared me.
Oh no! Well, I won't know it. Maybe that just gets cut then.
Why don't you just laugh and then I'll assume it was okay?
No, I'm not. I am not rubber stamping that.
Just laugh. Just assume it was a good point.
Nope.
I think it was fine.
What was it?
It was fine. It doesn't matter.
No, I'm not. Then you get no laugh. You'll have to cut it.
Pokemon. It was Pokemon. It's fine.
Pokemon.
Okay. Here's my last thing I have. Well, 2 things I have.
Yep.
One is every zombie story is predicated on the survivors having reckless outings. Every one of them only works if you're like, look, this is just the way society works. Every 3 weeks, we have to send a group of 5 teenagers just off by themselves into the zombie world. That's how all of these things. It's always like, oh man, everything was going so good, but now we need to go through the haunted hospital.
I mean, look, this is totally true. The hero's journey is so much worse when there's no inciting incidents, and they just continue to refuse the call. It's just like, look, this makes a lot of sense. I think that just boring survivors following protocol is maybe a show that I'm curious, but I don't know how it's going to get picked up for a full season.
I do feel like it is possible to write a zombie story where there's a good reason the people are in trouble, and I think everyone just gives up too fast.
Okay, how about this? The zombie apocalypse happens when someone's already going down the water slide, and it's like, oh no, I can't turn back up the water slide. There's zombies at the bottom of the water slide.
It's a very fast zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, you never know when it's going to strike. It was in the water, I think is the thing. It was in the water. That must have been it.
But not in the slide water, only in the pool water.
No. The slide water's clean, man. A zombie peed in the pool, and that's how it spread.
All right, well, our final 2 questions as we've asked for each of these subjects. First, how do you feel about this? What'd you think? Have you seen this before?
Yeah, I did see. I saw it when it came out. I liked it. I mean, I think it very much like, this was a tone of thing where it's like, oh man, I would be happy with some exceptions. Generally, I'd be happy writing this thing, right? Like, I think like the Romeo and Juliet with zombies feels like a good pitch, and I was I was like, yes, I like the tone of this. I think there's a lot of smart things. I think in the first and the world building in the first 5 minutes or so, it's very fast and like really solid. And there's like a lot of like moves at a very good clip for this. I feel like on the whole.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's some very clever solves for a few things. I think the memory thing is an interesting addition that does make some sense. I think it also is reasonable for a book aimed at this target demographic to not deal with the horror of zombies having inner lives.
Yeah.
Just skip over it. That's fine. But I did find myself not loving it at the end. I feel like I was into some of it mostly, but then it ended up kind of like, especially the ending, just kind of slotted into an uncanny valley where it was not sure if it was trying to be funny or trying to be a good, like a real story. And I'm sure we did this too, because at some point you got to write the ending to your book, and you've got, you got writer's problems. Yeah. So, but it just ended up being less funny, and then it's not funny enough to like take it as a goof, and then it's the serious parts start to bother me, I guess.
Well, I mean, so maybe this is like the problem. It's like, okay, if you have a tragedy, and instead you do a third act that's basically an action third act, right? Yeah. Like it doesn't quite work fully in a satisfying way. Yeah. And so I don't know if there's a better rom-com third act that you can get, where you have like more of those beats.
Right.
But it just I agree that it's like this is not the best part of it for sure. Yeah.
And the action is so weird and silly, and the CG on the bonies is so bad.
They did their best, man. Well, look, they had like just one single iMac in 2013. What do they know?
I think maybe there is a third act that would have made it more fun. The bonies thing was the dumbest part of all of it. I think the Romeo and Juliet was really good.
Romeo and Juliet and bonies. I don't know. This seems like three great tastes that go great together. So I'm not sure where we went wrong.
All right. Well, so that gets us to our last question, and the final question of the day for our third week. Out of 16 or 1 to 8 bitumens, where you can use half points, so it's out of 16 total.
Yeah.
But 1 to 8 bitumens, can this undead boyfriend get it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a sort of like they do the equivalent of putting glasses on a hot person, I think, for most of this.
Yeah.
I mean, glasses and goop, right? And
yeah. He's a goopy boy.
He's a gooshy boy. And they also like they do a thing which I realized what was happening like partway through. It's like, oh, the reason this is a little off and stressful is they never show him blinking until like he kisses her at the end. Basically, I don't think he ever closes his eyes. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, good for them.
I think I could be wrong, but it's like anytime you see zombies, I'm not sure they ever close their eyes.
Smart.
Like, and so I think that's the one I was realizing. Like, why do I just feel uncomfortable with this? It's like, oh yeah, they're just staring, right? The zombies be staring.
It is. There's the scene where they have to like give him makeup to make him look human when he's a human wearing all this makeup to make him look not human. So they have to put. That was such a great makeup challenge for somebody to be like, you have to put on enough makeup to make him a zombie, and then enough makeup on top of that to look like you've made up a zombie to look like a person that passes.
I think that seems about right. So yeah, I would say anyway. How much can Nicholas Hoult get it? I would. It seems. I mean, definitely
Nicholas
above
Hoult
the
dead.
Right. Their zombified version.
Well, right, because he can't get it at the beginning, according to her, and then later when he turns, like then he can get it. But when he can't get a whole word out, when he's shambling, when he's gooshier, so this is a spectrum of getting it. I think you have to choose where you're.
Okay.
You're
well,
responding.
I mean, I think it's probably a. I mean, look. By the end, he's basically straight human, and
But she's kissed him. I wonder about that with Rob Zombie too. Is like, would he have been fully recovered by then if he'd gotten a kiss? Is there like a Beauty and Beast thing going on?
Yeah, it was like 85% there.
Maybe we just let them all stay dead. I'm not willing to do that.
Close enough. Anyway, well, maybe it's like you kiss your zombie today, and then like you're like, I'm sure it's just a thing that people are doing. Anyway, I think he probably ranges from like 3 to like 6.5 throughout the movie is what I'm thinking. If his gettingness ability, I think yeah. So he's topping out around on the higher level. I think that's
a pretty solid finish.
I mean, I think with the things that are always going to bring down the score is like you can't get past the fact that yes, you did kill and eat your ex-boyfriend's brains. Even if you weren't
right, you're talking about physically can get it because emotionally, I think shouldn't get it. That's
there's still some entrapments. There's still some like deceit. So there's like I think there's some stuff that's like I don't think you ever get up to 8, even when you're fully, No,
no matter how hot you get.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. How about you?
The gooshiness really bothers me. This is why we were Dusty Boys and not Gooshy Boys all along. There is something beautiful about something that's very dry and dusty, whereas Gooshy just really off-putting for me.
Yeah, this was Gooshy for good, I would say. Right? He did face paint on her to give her some Gooshy camouflage. I think this was benevolent
that was gross,
gooshiness.
dark red blood,
did not
brown
like that.
blood.
Not a fan.
No, he was sunny side up the whole time. Yeah, you poke any bit, it was going to goosh, and it was very upsetting.
He was a dippy egg.
He's a dippy egg of a person, and I don't like that kind of I like a dry corpse, man. And yeah, I thought he also he was a little bit emo. And the hipster record thing was funny, but also made me not like him.
He had some good taste though. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
They were fine. It was, although every time he's playing records, every time he started on track 2, just so he could show off that he knew how to move the needle over. Like, start the record at the beginning. You're dead. You got infinity time.
What else is he doing though? Like he's like I have a couple of tricks that I've developed in my 747 that I've taken over to myself.
Yeah, I mean, also it did make me think I could live in a 747. That was nice. Yeah, I'm gonna say he can't get it. I'm too mad at him emotionally. I don't like the gooshiness. He's like maxing out at a 4 when he's mostly back to life.
Oh wow!
But he's only back to life because she kissed him. So you have to be able to get it to get there, and I don't like it.
Oh, this is like you need to have a job to get a job.
Exactly. He had no human kissing experience that we know of.
I'm sorry. Maybe you can find an unpaid internship.
Also, I'm very worried that if he becomes human again, he's going to have all his memories back. And what if he sucks? What if it's not Rob who sucks? What if he's also terrible?
I mean, probably not. They're humans. None of them are that great. I guess that's where I'm at. Like, I think I understand.
You're right. We're ranking about humanity. Anyway, I'm going to say bottom 3, top 4 can get it. He can't get it. Can't get it. He's below the line.
Okay. Wow.
Well, so if we were to come back, we're done with this run.
Right.
It's Halloween next week. We did it. This is the Mummy Month. What should we do next year for Mummy Month? What else is in the mummy exploration that you feel like? Do we have to go back to Brendan Fraser?
I mean, I feel like yes. That I know there's a mummy movie we never did, which is I think the Mummy 3. I want to say. I think there's one that Jet Li is in. I don't think we ever did that one.
Wait, is 2 Scorpion King?
Yes, 2. So 2 is the Scorpion King, and then there's also the Scorpion King spinoff, right?
And then we followed the Scorpion King. We left that.
So I think maybe there's Mummy Returns, and then the third one is I think there's an Emperor or something like that.
There's also the Mummy Hand, which was the sequel to the 1939 one, or the reboot in 1942. I think that is what the Brendan Fraser Mummy is based on. So we should probably go back and see that.
Yeah, I like.
And if you want more from us, we have already talked about Brendan Fraser Mummy. I think we talked about the cruise missiles, the Mummy, and we definitely talked about the most important Mummy movie of all time, Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. All of that is in our feed somewhere. ReadDeadPoop.com. It's probably in there somewhere. It's in that feed. It's in the Read and Weep feed, I think. I don't know. Our old episodes might not be working currently, but anyway, they might be. This might be available. Maybe I should repost them to finish this up. But yeah, we've talked a lot about mummies over the years.
I like that. Get all the mummy stuff in one place.
If you had to move on to a second underappreciated monster, if you had to moneyballed mummies, I think, to get here, what would be your next moneyballed monster?
This is such a good question. I think I'm curious about the big ones, right? So I guess the kaiju kind of style monsters, right?
Oh, that big that way, not big emotionally big.
No, I feel nothing for them. But
yeah, giants are very funny. You and I have done some writing on a dragon, full-size dragon, which is very fun.
Give me a Godzilla, a King Kong, just a real big kind of scale breaking monster.
A Godzilla, but not the Godzilla, is a very funny idea.
Any Godzilla in a storm, that's what they say.
I like a Babadook. I think if we could figure out how to get a Babadook into a thing.
Okay, so I'd put this in the psychological subtext monsters. Where it's the monsters with a message. I want to say. So I'd be interested in that. I also
Monsters Without Borders.
I never seen Babadook, but I love that Babadook accidentally became a gay icon.
Yeah, Babadook became something great. But Babadook is the look of Babadook is you glance at the door and you think it's a person, but it's actually a trench coat and a hat hanging on the same coat rack. And that look of empty trench coat and fedora as a monster is so funny. And Babadook has gotten so good.
Hat wearing monsters.
Yes. Yes.
Man, what other ones would come in that?
I mean, I think the other thing, like, I like the big ones in terms of classics, and I do feel like vampires are overdone and zombies are overdone now. But I do think Frankenstein's monsters, or as I call them, Frankensteins, are underdone. I think there's room for more Frankensteins.
I do like that. I'd take on Frankenstein stuff. I will say, if we did hat-wearing monsters, we could for sure do Monsters University because Mike Wazowski wears a hat for most of that. And also, I think we could totally do Clockwork Orange because those guys are monsters and they had some cool hats.
It doesn't seem fun. I don't want to do that.
Wait, there's one more thing we didn't do also, though.
Yeah.
Well, so we did. Could you get it? We did not answer how Mummy is the zombie.
Oh, right. How Mummy is the zombie? I think we did for a long time, but we didn't actually do the number. How Mummy is the zombie?
I would say probably more Mummy than Ramses. I like more.
Yeah. 100%.
But still not a mummy. I'm 3 is fine for me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
good.
Great. So,
all right, I think that's all our unfinished business. We're not ghosts anymore. We can die.
Oh no.
Well, as ghosts, where if we were to die, we would be able to die,
it's
which
optional.
seems better.
Death optional.
Yes. If we wanted to, it would happen. No unfinished business. All right. Well, enjoy Halloween. Thanks for hanging out with everybody. You can buy Unwrap My Heart at unwrapmyheart.com. You can get it fast from Amazon or slow and autographed from me. And all of that. That's enough. Good podcast.
Yeah, it was a lot. What are you going to wear for Halloween? Do you not do? Do you not?
No, I'm an adult.
I'm an adult. I just have kids, so we had to dress up.
No, but you have kids. You have to hang out with kids. They have to dress. You have to do a thing. I don't have to do a thing.
Okay, well, we're on brand.
I think I've told you this before, but I hate being required to have a costume.
Or wear pants.
Cosplay is a thing for me. No, it like stresses me out so bad. Cosplay is the thing in my life where like I would only want to be good at it, and I have no skill in it. It's like the gap between what I would want from myself and knowing how to do it well is just so far. So I can't. I've had some decent costumes as a kid, but they were always a little bit crappy, and I've never gotten better at it.
Well,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I can't do it.
Can I share mine? Because
of course.
Well,
that's why
no.
you
I thought it
asked.
was gonna be a bit, but like I still have stuff. This is relevant for the for Best Thing Ever fans. So we as a family are going at so my youngest as Zelda, my oldest as Link, and then Sarah and I, we wanted to be in the theme basically, but not have to have like a bespoke kind of costume. And so we're like, what else is in the Zelda Link world that we could get something easily for? And so a hawk reporter. We are both chickens. So right, so this is a two for Best Thing Ever. So we got the Zelda stuff. We got chickens.
Great.
And yeah, so we got Link, Zelda, and their chickens. Gonna be trick or treating. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Have a great Halloween. And everybody else, if you hang out in the feed, we will have another couple of bonuses coming up in different varieties with different groups. We'll have other people from the show. But thank you for listening to the Mummy Month with Ez and I. Have a good Halloween. Bye, everybody.